Good Woche, good Jahr, gesunter Winter, as much as we can, you know, say these things at a time like this where, it's from every possible direction. Uh, the tragedy, the enormity of the tragedy, if what I'm reading is correct, I can't believe my eyes. 700 Jews dead, 700 Jews dead, and thousands injured. Right? We haven't seen this since the Holocaust. There's not been, so many Jews killed in such a short amount of time. Right? We haven't seen this since the Holocaust. Right? Uh, so the Maisa Kishula Atzmo, first of all, the amount of dead, right? Right. But, amount of dead, the amount of injured, but, the also, aside from the raw numbers that are tragic enough, who did this to us? Right. The Rebbe Shalom handed us over to a bunch of, barbarians, This is not an organized army that has tanks, that has, an air force. Right? It's not like a war with, like a organized country like Syria, right? Or Iran, Chas v'sholom, we don't want such a thing, right? These are, barbarians, come with, regular, normal armaments, and knives, right? And they cut through our, sophisticated, advanced, right, security forces, the intelligence failure, right? How real soldiers of a real army couldn't repel, this rabble, right? This primitive, barbaric rabble, the mob, right? So the Rebbe Shalom handed us over to the hands of like simple-minded, primitive barbarians, not an organized nation with an organized army. That also is mind-boggling. When you just look at the just the circumstances, right, are from both angles, each one alone would have been mind-boggling. Let alone you have both combined, this type of enormity of dead and wounded, and that it was done by such a primitive people, right? That and Sahel, and the military and the intelligence, didn't hold up. These two themselves, boggle the mind, and are a serious call for soul searching, right? But here are 2 points I want to get to that was sitting on my heart all day, right? Or more than all day, since I heard about this last night. And I would have never known about it. Not in fact, I went to the White Shul and I was giving a shir between Mincha and Marav, and Rabbi Feiner, Shlita, mentioned half a word about it, and we said a kapitel Tehillim, and I got informed. And then I took a walk to the local police precinct to ask some cops on the beat what they heard, and since then, and back then, 24 hours ago, they were talking about 300 dead. The number more than doubled. Hashem Yirachim, right? And thousands wounded and taken captive. Did I mention that? Benos Yisrael, Noshim Betzion Inu, Benos Yisrael taken captive by these animals. I mean, it boggles the mind, and it's all a bunch of primitive barbarians. We haven't seen this since the Holocaust, and mitzad, the Israeli military might and intelligence. This is a bigger failure than the Yom Kippur War, right? A bigger failure than the Yom Kippur War, right? But here's the thing that, was percolating in my head, and I really wanted to say it today, and I do have to say a word about this, that some very well-meaning people, in their limited knowledge and understanding, right, did not want to hear and didn't want to discuss, because Yom Tov, as if they're on the Madrega of, the story brought down in Halachic Man about the Vilna Gaon. That on Simchas Torah, even though he had a big tragedy in his family, he put it all aside. Vein Oraya Dome Lanidon. And then, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yislach Lem Shekavanosam Hoysel L'Shamayim. But it's halacha mefuresh in Siman Reish Peches, right? That you cry out for an ongoing tzara, right? Yeah, of course. If you're talking about a tragedy that just occurred and it happened already, you got to push that to the side for Shabbos Kodesh, right? Because it happened already. It's in the past, right? It's not something ongoing, right? That's distinction number one. Distinction number two is that if it's about the patira of someone, so if Shabbos and Yom Tov, if you're upset over what's happening to the neshama, right? Well, it gets a respite, right, on Shabbos and Yom Tov. But an ongoing tzara, halacha mefreshes in Shulchan Aruch, you cry out on Shabbos and Yom Tov, even for a chayla that's actively ill, right, in your city. And it also say even for someone else, when and koshkin tzara of the rabbim, right? It's halacha mefureshes. You don't blow shofar, but you cry out. A. B is that another thing that's brought down in the same siman, right? It's if you're feeling agmas nefesh, right, and a good cry and a good tefillah will lift it a little bit, right? Lift it off your heart a little bit, right? So for you, that's einig, because and oilanu v'oile nafshenu, right? That we weren't begging, right, to cry out, and to hear. First of all, persons always want to hear divrei hisorus, always. No problem listening to divrei mus and divrei hisorus on Shabbos. That's a davar tov on even during the best of times. Always a person should always want to hear tochacha and always want to hear musar and always want to hear divrei hisorus. Right? No isser in that, right? That's because some people don't want to hear it, right? But anyone who's oyevis at tochachos should just welcome that, right? But people should have been begging, right, to ask the rabbanim, like, let's have some tefillos, let's have some tehillim, right? And if it be that be like it's Yom Tov, right? So these people, out of their ignorance, and I dare say heart of stone, right, that you should be in a matzav when you feel achrayus for Klal Yisrael, right, that you should want to cry out, and that will make you feel better. Right, that you did something, you appealed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you let out a good cry because you're mishtatif b'tzar as opposed to holding it in. V'oilanu v'oilu nafshenu, right? That we should be in a situation that to be mesiach das from it. That's not das Torah. To be mesiach das from the tzara of a tzibur that is actively in process, right? It is wrong. It's connected halacha and it's connected midas tovus. There's no gevura in that, right? That's it is okay. So, I'm sorry. There are, in some circumstances, a opportunity was missed, and here's a big yesod I want to share with you right now. About striking first, right? In the parsha we're going to read this week, the very first sin that set up what we're up against, right? Like the very first sin. So the adversity with the snake represents, mankind's future adversity with evil. And the sin, of course, gave us when Adam went from a creature of vestments of light to vestments of flesh, or with an aleph, kosnos or with an aleph, to or with an ayin. He went from light to skin, as Revised Clover points out. What's the difference in gematria between or with an aleph and or with an ayin? You go from 1 to 70. If Adam wouldn't have sinned, the whole world all mankind would have been what we call today Jewish. But we went from, what we call it. And this relates to Shmini Atzeres. So much. We went from being the Ummah Yechida, beside Atem Kurim Adam, to now Shivim Umos. When man went from light to skin, he went from Aleph to Ayin, from 1 to 70. And that's our adversity. We who are trying to get back to what Adam Rish was, Kodem Achet, besod Atem Kurim Adam. And that's a Yisrael Goy Echad Baritz, the one nation that was always meant to be. The others came out because of our sins. That's where they emerged from. And that's why there's pushback from the 70 nations of the world that they want to be called Adam, right? And they want to be, the new humanity, right? So now, the adversity with us, between us and the snake, which ultimately is the shorish of our adversity of everything that came out from that sin, that the snake was machshel us. So the Rebbe Shem tells the snake like this: Hu yeshufcha rosh, v'ata teshufenu akev. Man will slay you by the head, but you'll get him in the heel. Man gets you by the head, you get him by the heel. So now, in a sefer called Lev David from the Chidah, it's called Lev David because he has 32 chapters, most of which come from Rav Chaim Vital. Some Rav Chaim Vital, they're not part of the regular Kisvei Ari, right? Which is all mostly, there's a little bit of side there, but it's mostly very straight Sumzach Musar. So over there he brings, those 32 chapters, like I said, most of which are from Chaim Vital, right? So Chaim Vital says the following idea, that this, adversity, Veva Oshis, there's going to be adversity between you and mankind, right? The rules of engagement are like this: Hu yeshuv charosh. If man strikes first, man wins. Va'ata teshufenu akev. But if man waits till the end, or as we say in Ivrit, mit akev, things wait, you win. Right? It says Rav Chaim Vital. The rules of how we win the war against evil is to act immediately. When the Nisayan first starts, say no. Or if the tzara hits, immediately be misoirer, right? And that's why it was the right thing that Rabbanim should have talked about this tzara today during Hakafas and given a serious edge to the Hakafas. It was not das Torah, right? To be Messiach das from this, right? Not das Torah and not midas tevis and not a feeling of arvus. Really, it was all misplaced. Some people thought they were being fchum and kanoim for kedushas Yom Tov and oinig Yom Tov, and they didn't understand, and it wasn't doima to things that they experienced that Rabbanim told them when they were in Avelos. Forget about your Avelos. It's not doima to Avelos where it's a person who's dead already. Hey, it happened already. B is that what do you worry about right now? It's just like it's Yom Tov for you. It's Yom Tov for his neshama. He's not feeling pain, right? The neshamas are released from Gehenim on the Shabbos and the Yom Tovim. Right, there's a reason. Not practicing Avelos in those days has a parallel reality to what's happening to the neshama that you're in Avelos for. Right, and a raya domilanidon, right, and an opportunity was missed, right, because we have to react. Yeshuv charosh, we have to react to evil or do tshuva. The reaction has to be immediate, and then we win. If you push it off, they win. And we don't even have to get into the metaphysics of it. Of the koach of being misorder immediately. This could be easily explained that if you wait, you cool down. And it's not the same, right? Hashem Yerachim, right? Okay, but Maida Hava, right? And now it's time, to let me say what I would have liked to say, and I shared with very few people who were willing to listen today. The few that were willing to listen, about aside from the enormity of the tragedy, right? Like we said before, the amount of bodies, Hashem Yerachim, right? The amount injured, the captured, right? A and B by a bunch of primitive barbarians, not even an organized people that outdid our intelligence and outdid our military, right? That alone is another cause, for it to blow the mind. But think of the timing. Think of the timing. And this is the most frightening thing. Think of the timing, right? It was on Shmini Atzeres, right? Everyone knows the end of Shmini Atzeres, right? We went through Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, right? And we think we got, we did tshuva, and we think we got a favorable chasima, but still there's an outer chasima, added layer of protection that should be, as the Chendas Hayomim says, besod choisam b'tol chasam, like your glot meat, it should be a seal within a seal. There's a secondary seal, that which is against like an outer seal, against the kitrugim of the Umos Olam, right? And during Sukkot, they're still mekatreg. And that's why we have to sacrifice shivim parim keneged shivim to, as the Zohar says, it's not for their good. It's to lessen their power, because they're trying to appeal, right? Appeal the good judgment that we got, right? And be mekatrik, and they have wiggle room to do so because the pitka wasn't handed yet, right? So there's a little bit of wiggle room, or call it this way, the outer seal wasn't made yet. So there's a little bit of what they could penetrate and try to put a spin, a bad spin. So if we got a good chasima, there's put bad spin, because the outer chasima, which makes it totally impenetrable, hasn't been built yet, right? The pitka hasn't been delivered yet, so they could put their amendments on the pitka, explain it this way, explain it that way. They're both true, right? So that's why during Sukkah we rush into the Sukkah, the Tzila de Menusa, right, for protection, and that's so the Sukkah is for protection, and the Daled Minim is to make battle, as the Ramchal says in the Derech Hashem, the Daled Minim is Kened V'ro Kol Me'er Kishem Hashem Nikra Lecha V'Yoru Mimeka. Put the Shem Hashem, that the 4 minim are connected, the Arba Isis Hashem, and the Shem Hashem is Chal on us, right? And it's supposed to make the Goyim afraid of us. So it's like with the way we wave in all different directions, it's like shooting in all different directions. And then when we go around the bima, it's being makif, that also adds protection, mikoch the Daled Minim. So there's shooting with the Daled Minim, there's protection with the Daled Minim, there's the protection of Sukkah, right? And it's supposed to be at Hoshana Rabbah, the grand salvation, that it's over. So at the end of Hoshana Rabbah, on the 7th day, they all go home. The Kitrugim over. It's game over. We added the outer seal of protection, the outer chasima. The chasima of Yom Kippur was Yisoid Sheba Malchus, and then on Hoshana Rabbah is Malchus Sheba Malchus. It's done, right? The Goyim are gone, right? And now it's just us and the Ribono Shel Olam. Parechad Eilchad Keneged Uma Yechida. Right, we've restored our status as being the one nation that was meant to be. All the other nations that were hanging around, right? They hang around because they think they belong. Right? And that's why the Navi says also they're going to have to come to, Sukkot is to come, but they're supposed to at the end eat a piece of humble pie, right? And understand they don't belong, right? They have to go to see. They have to go to our place, our base marriage, to see that they don't belong. Right, all right, for 7 days, and then on the 8th day they're not even there. It's just us and the Ribono Shel Olam. Bon is gagu masha nishar parechad keneged uma yechida. It's like they're all bottle, and we don't need the protection of the sukkah anymore. That's supposed to be the inyan, right? We're past them. We're beyond them. And this happened on that day when we're supposed to be beyond them. They're behind us, gone. It's just us and the Ribono Shel Olam, reminiscent of the 8th millennium when Olam Haba starts, and it's just us and the Ribono Shel Olam, and that's when the attack happened, right? Which means the message is very loud and clear. We failed, right? We thought we got a great start on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. We didn't. We failed. We failed. Our tefillos of Yom Noim were rejected. Right? The culmination of all this after you come to Shmini Atzeres, and that's boom there. Right? It is the biggest slap in the face. This is after the confrontation is all over. And it's just us and the Ribono Shel Olam. Right? And that's where the attack happens. We're supposed to be alone with the Ribono Shel Olam, beyond them, in a safe dimension, totally beyond them. And there they infiltrated, on earth and in heaven. On earth and in heaven, just like on earth. They broke through their barrier, right? They broke through the separation wall, right? And they broke into our sovereign space, right? So it means in Shemayim also, they broke in. The Chasimas didn't hold up. That is what's amazing. Amazing in a bad way. Where we have to, realize the dinim, we were not successfully mantik the dinim. Dirty yamim no rayim. We failed. And it's not just, it's not just out, Yisrael Arevim Zelazed. Of course, if any community has a tzara, right? So I have a piece in it. I have to ask, what do I have to do tshuva for? Because Yisrael Arevim Zelazed, right? He's suffering. It's probably also for my sins also, because we're Arevim Zelazed. You have to assume a yid that's suffering, because we're Arevim Zelazed, he's a tzaddik. Problem is that he's hooked up with a guy like me, right? And I'm not such a tzaddik. And you have to take arvus, say, what did I do wrong that therefore he has a chelik in it? That is true, in any community that suffers, or even any individual. That you always have to ask yourself, b'shali, how am I responsible? How am I responsible? Because I'm Orev Lo and he's Orev Li. Maybe I did something wrong that he's paying for because he's my Orev, right? That's in any Jewish community. But in Eretz Yisrael, right, this is a million times worse. And let me explain this, right? Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael, right, represents the whole Jewish people. It's not just episode, he's a separate Jew, but I signed Arvus, right? I signed Arvus for him. No. Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael is different. You know what the difference is like? It's like the difference between, there are a lot of different organs in the body, right? Right, and of course the organs are Arevim cells. You have an infection in one organ, the whole body. You run a fever throughout your body. The other organs don't function well either. But then there are certain organs that aren't just, another organ in the body, and everything's connected. Something like the heart or the brain, right? Yeah, it's a particular organ, but it's central to the whole body. And that organ goes down, the whole body goes down. Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael is like the heart of the Jewish people. Here, let me give you two Yesodus in Halacha. Besides the fact that that's the Makom HaMikdash, which is point center of our people, and in better times, we did Aliyah L'Regel, we all went there, right? And so it's, but two Yesodus in Halacha that play out this idea, right? Even Shalom Bisman Abayis, the Gemara says in Erchin, right, that that a hollow is said on a nace kaknifim kol Yisrael. I do believe it's a Gemara in Erchin. I do believe. Whatever, I didn't look it up before I started his prayer. If it's a Gemara elsewhere, please. But it's a criteria that a nace that you say halal on needs ganz klai. So it has to be a nace that happens to all klai Yisrael. And that's why let's say. There's Purim de Frankfurt, and other, cities that had Nisim, and the cities made a Yom Tov. As far as I know, the halachas, they don't say Hallel. They can make a Yom Tov, they make a Suda on the day, but they don't say Hallel because that's be Knifin Kol Yisrael. It has to be, happen to all Klai. So a nace that, says, Hallel with a bracha, that should be Nichol on the Takanas and Levim, to say Hallel on Kishomim, Kishinigolim, Omusal Gulasa. So ask the Achronim the following question. During the Nes of Hanukkah, only 1/5 of Am Yisrael was in Eretz Yisrael. How many people Ezra took back to the second Commonwealth? 1/5 of our people, right? And still at the time of the Nes of Hanukkah, most of the Yidden, were living in Chutz La'aretz, right? So why do we say Hallel on the Gula of Hanukkah, right? So answer, the Achronim say, because Am Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael has a din of Gans Klal Yisrael. So it's not just Stam Arvus. This goes beyond it. Am Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael represents Kol Knesses Yisrael. Mamish. So I said, before, we failed. Oh yeah, we failed. Because Am Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael is not just, we're Arevim, like we're Arevim to Yidden anywhere, which is no small thing, right? No small thing, but it's more that Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael is Klal Yisrael, right? Another Yesod in Halacha, apropos to Yom Tov, right? Is the Shita of the Rambam, which he lays out in the Sefer HaMitzvahs. And Rambam says, you need a based in smuchin, to be makarish to chodesh. How does our luach work? We don't have smuchim bisman. Okay, so al pi cheshbon, right? The cheshbon, right? But you need the smuchim. Yeah, you could be makadosh al pi cheshbon, and not if re'iyah doesn't work out, if Adam don't come, Bezin, but it's Bezin, it's makadosh. So we have the luach, so we have the cheshbon. Okay, but what empowers the cheshbon? It's the Sanhedrin. The smuchim that have the smuchim have to make the cheshbon. Right, so says the Rambam, the Yishuv in Eretz Yisrael, the Yidden in Eretz Yisrael, are a hemshech of the Beis Din of Hillel Nasiah. Right, it's not enough that he was pre-Makadosh, but he's dead. Right, what is the hemshech, the Yishuv of Am Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael? And the Rambam goes on and says that if Chas v'Shalom, if Eretz Yisrael ever be Yudin Ryan, like Hamas wants to make it, the Luach would fall out of use. The Yishuv of Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael is the hemshech of the Beis Din of Hillel Nasiah, and that's what makes the Luach work. But the Rambam adds, we have Haftacha, that Eretz Yisrael will always have Yidden. That doesn't mean we'll always have as many Yidden as we want there to be, right? It means there'll always be Epis Yidden, right? A Kehila. There'll always be a Kehila, right? There's no guarantee that, it won't, Chas v'Shalom, just be a small Kehila. Hashem Yerachim. Right, so look at Am Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael is central to the Metzius of Klal Yisrael, and that's why their tzara is our tzara, not just midin arvus in the as it were, that it's like one step removed. Right, it's not. It is arvus in a much closer sense, as we explained. Regular arvus is like how the liver feels the pain of the intestines, right? Vice versa, right? Everything spreads. But then there's when the organ that's afflicted is the heart or the brain. Ever shanashama tluyabo, right? It's a whole different level of arvus, right? You get my drift. So someone asked me, when I was quite disappointed that, Divrei Kivushin were not said, and I don't think that that more wasn't done. So someone asked me, what would you have said? Let's say we would have given you a platform. What would you have said? What's there to say? Right? I said, well, aside from what I shared with you, that the fact, the aside from the gravity of the event, and it's still going on. The fact that we are nimsar biyad, a bunch of barbarians, right? That itself is a tremendous smack in the face that we didn't fall before the Russian army, fall before a bunch of barbarians, primitive barbarians, right? that. But the fact that it happened on Shmini Atzeres, which is supposed to be the time when we're past all the kitrugim. All the Umasolim are behind us, and we're just alone with God, right? It was the biggest smack in the face that shows that our whole avoda of the Yom Ryan was nothing, right? Was nothing, right? Really, think about it, because the normal process, Shmini Atzeres, where you don't even need protection anymore, right? Right. So we have to ask ourselves, of course it's Yom Tov, and of course we're going to dance with the Torah. I wasn't talking about being Mavat HaKofs, but you take HaKofis seriously, right? And when you say you dance with the Torah, I love the Torah. How much do you love the Torah? How much you really love the Torah? You make HaKofis real. You should be, yes. And HaKof should be singing and crying at the same time today. That's what it should have been. Singing with crying. And that's a good thing. And that's a Yiddish azach. Right? It's a Yiddish azach, an ongoing tzara, active tzara. And a person that's full of avas Yisrael and feels arvus should have felt that, that the crying is a certain release on all that pain, right? It should have been a kofis, singing with crying, right? And what? You ask yourself, how much you really love the Torah? Yeah, you say you love the Torah, you machabed the Torah. How much? Really? Seriously? Ask ourselves that question. How much we really love the Torah, how much we really machabed the Torah. Like, instead of making it frivolous, if things would have gone well, we could cut ourselves that slack and let it get a little frivolous, Right? They say even Rabbi Sol Salanter used to get a little bit drunk on Simchas Torah. But of course, Rabbi Sol Salanter, case in point, and when he got drunk on Simchas Torah, he used to ask himself, if I have such a good head, am I really using it 100% in my learning and in my avodas Hashem? Right? Yeah. So maybe we could, with the drinking also, but that type of seriousness, right? Of how much do we really love the Torah? How much are we really mechabed the Torah? Because the Rebbe Shem doesn't think much, unfortunately, of our avas Torah and our kavod Torah, because this wouldn't have happened. If everything's good, this wouldn't have happened. Wouldn't have happened this bad. It wouldn't, and it certainly wouldn't have happened on Shmini Atzeres, on our special day of oneness with him, with all the Kitrugim supposedly defeated and behind us. Right? Right. So how much you love the Torah, how much you mechaber Torah. And also, and I said, and when you get a Sefer Torah, you get your dance with it, be mindful that when you're receiving Torah, you're mekabel all Torah. Take the Sefer Torah as an act of Kabbalah's all Torah. At least one thing was alleviated. I was going back to what we opened up with, the Rosh of Hu Yeshuvcha Rosh. That when something's going on, you got to take action immediately. That's what Rav Chaim Vital taught us, that we should learn from what's coming this week's parsha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed the laws of warfare against the Ra. Hu Yeshuvcha Rosh. Man will kill you by head when he strikes first, when he doesn't delay. But if we delay, the Sitrachra wins, right? So at least I was happy to see that on Kikara Shabbat, it's a Haredi news site, and I tell you, they're quite good. I find them, very, very informative about what's going on in Eretz Yisrael. I would trust them more than the secular media. All right, on the raw news, on the raw data of the news, right? I was very pleased to see that Baruch Shekivanti, the Gdolim and Rosh Yeshivas in Eretz Yisrael, ended Bein Hazmanim and demanded an immediate return to the Beis HaMedrash. Right, this is so apropos. Right, we say Simchas Torah, Avas Torah. I love it. Ma'ahavti Torah Secha. Right, it's time to get back to the Beis Medrash and show that it's real. Right, not a few more days. Air out this and that. Yeah. It was Hu Yeshuvcha Rosh. We kill the snake if we strike first. We can't wait till the Zman starts. And I was very pleased that the Rosh Yeshivas and Rosh Kolim, my son who's in the mirror over there, is going back to yeshiva, tomorrow. Today they put out the cruise. They couldn't do it on Shabbos, so today they announced Bein Hazmanim's over. So Zman starting, tomorrow, Monday. Almost a whole week in advance. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. That's the right thing to do. I mean, Yala Adas. Think about it for a second. We believe Torah's Magnu Matzla, right? Right? Gemara says in Bacchus, right? We believe that that's what empowers the Israeli soldiers, right? The Torah learning. And we believe that. It's true. Because the Nisim that we had passed, now we had something Shalok Derech HaTeva to our disbenefit, right? But, Meruba Mida Taiva, that we could do tshuva, we could be mischazek, right? And we could reverse the situation. Right, so imagine. So an Israeli soldier says, "I need a few more days to air out, then I'll fight better." No, you're needed right now on the battlefield. Same thing also, and so I'm guessing, I'm hoping the Rosh Yeshiva in America, right, and world over, right, are following the lead of the Rosh Yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael and ending Bein Hazmanim. They saw that but the Zman will be shvach if we don't give the Bachrim nothing doing. The Bachrim and the Avrechim are needed in the Beis Medrash now. The battle is going on now. Hu Yeshuvcha Rosh, right? You have to strike as soon as possible if you want to win, right? When this will be behind us. So, call Bein Hazmanim right after Purim, okay? You make it up to the Bachrim. Give them a long, weekend, Hanukkah, Beis by Hanukkah. This will be behind us, we hope. Right, give them a long weekend. If they compensated Lomisha, but now we need them in the Beis Medrash. And everyone's got to go. Right, everyone's got to get into full action. We screwed up. We screwed up Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. God has just showed it to us, right? Lo, you don't gotta be a Navi. Lo Navi, lo Ben Navi. We screwed up, right? And Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael represents God's class. The class so screwed up. I mean, I'm not going out on a limb by saying that. We screwed up. Something did not go right during the Yamim Noraim. So, and because of that, we have Yamim Noraim in the most literal sense. We have terrible days now. Terrible days. And I want to tell you something else. Arvus, yeah, it's their problem, but I'm Orev. No. So I mentioned earlier, I was, after, Hakofis, I went out to, to the local precinct here, the 101st precinct, see if I could see a cop, on the street, and ask him, if he could tell me what's going on, what he saw in the news. And I met a nice cop that shared with me whatever he knew. And he said, and back then, the details then were less than half of what we're hearing now. And he said then, and we both agreed, it's gruesome, right? 300 dead. Now we're talking about 700, and the amount of wounded and captured, but this guy said, it's not just the problem of the Jews in Israel, it's our problem. A guy came to this Hasaga, right? And he said, the borders are wide open, here in the southwest to the north, the terrorists are here already, right? So right now, even though there are pro-Palestinian groups protesting in the streets of Manhattan, I read somewhere, I'd like to believe it's a muta de miuta, right? These, sick leftists, right? Shmos Shoy Mirkov, Kain Yovdu Avech Hashem, right? But he says, every country has operatives here now. Iran's got their operatives here now, right? America, is stands behind Israel like it should. He said, like it should, and he was a very pro-Israel, American, right? And says America, as America comes out, taking a public stance that's pro-Israel, which is what's politically expedient, with elections coming up in just a year's time. The Iranians, they have people here. Don't make balagan. Don't make balagan. So don't think it's we're Orev, but it's their problem. Just we have Arvus. Also, it's our problem. They're here. Those same barbarians that broke through all the defenses. If they outsmarted the Israeli intelligence, and the Israeli intelligence didn't see this coming, the Shmendriks, the brain dead Shmendriks that just are diversity hires that run the American intelligence. They're just going after some toothless white trash, right? That live in rusty trailers. They're the domestic terrorists, right? They're the biggest threat. That and climate change, right? Right? So they got past Israeli intelligence. They're not getting past this intelligence. They're here already. They're on our soil, American soil, right? It's our problem. Kipshutai. Not just midin arvus, not just midin a special arvus that the whole body has to something central like the heart. It's our problem. Kipshutai mamish, right? This could easily spiral out of control to worldwide balagan. Right? It's time to get serious. We screwed up on our Yamim Noraim, so now we were given Yamim Noraim, horrible days. And I say right now that since obviously, right, things did not go well in our, we were not, did not get a Gemar Chasima Taiva, right? Obviously, it's not low Navi, low Ben. Anyone can see it, right? It's not a particular individual, right? This is Klal Yisrael, right? As we explained, right? So we have to continue. I would say as follows: all the chumras that we had during the Aser Simei Tshuva, Pas Yisrael, Chav Yisrael, waking up early, right? I would say there should be slichus also, right? But no one listens to me, and and I'm sorry, not the Rosh HaKol anywhere, right? But but as what we were doing, waking up early. So if you're not waking up early for slichus, so wake up early to learn. Because Torah Magno Matzah, because it's happened on Simchas Torah. So wake early, like you did during the Aser Simei Tshuva, and learn. and learn and down with the same better intensity because we didn't do good enough at the time, right? Right, wake up early, learn down, say, eat pas Yisrael, eat chov Yisrael, all the chumras. But and another eight, I like to say, doing the, learning some Ramchal today. In the Adar Bamorim, the beginning is talking about the special school of Sefer HaZohar. This is Chevlei Mashiach, my friends. The stage is set for Armageddon, and all the players that the Nevi'im talk about are all there, right? Everything that the Navi talks about. Am Yisrael's Eretz, Azbabo, Gogal, Admas Yisrael. This is, there's never in our history have been closer, to the scenarios in the Nevuas of Achrus Hayomim. Right. So now, so to be a big school, to be nitzo from Chevlei Mashiach is to learn Sefer HaZohar. That's why the Zohar itself says in Parshas Naso, the reason why it wasn't revealed, closer to the time that it was compiled, but was L'Dorim Basroin, because Bain Yifkun Min Galusa Barachamin. The Sefer Zohar is a special zgula that those who are oisik in it get out of the Galus Barachamim. It's a antidote for Chevlei Mashiach. And for the reason that the Zohar explains, all the problems come from Chet Etzadas, what we read about in this parsha. From that snake, that the only way to beat him is to strike first. Strike as soon as you can. Don't delay, right? So, and the Zohar is from Misitra to Eitz HaChaim, and that's part of the begin. So the Lemitam Ilona Dechai Diu Sefer HaZohar Ubein Yifkun Min Galusa Barachamin. For those who can, you should learn Sefer HaZohar in addition, not instead of your regular story. And there's a way to do it responsibly. I'm not asking anyone to do anything that's over their heads, right? Yeah, so you don't understand Zohar, but the Zohar is very mesugel to give Yiras Shamayim and to be metired the neshama and to say Chevlei Mashiach. So here's an eitzah: learn Nefesh HaChaim. Nefesh HaChaim is heavily based on Zohar. It is so easy to go into stores and get. For the last 30 years, almost all the Nefesh HaChaims, all the new ones, for the last 30 years, unless you've been getting an old print, which I don't even know if they print anymore, right? All the new ones have Tirgum HaZohar, and it gives you such Yiras Shamayim. And the Nefesh HaChaim explains it, so you're not going off, and you get the Zohar, and you know what the Zohar means, because you see why the Nefesh HaChaim brings it in. Nefesh HaChaim is heavily based on Zohar. Another wonderful sefer, Reishis Chochma. Reishis Chochma is Kulo Yiras Shamayim, right? And it's heavily based on Zohar. And all the there's 2-volume prints and there's 3-volume prints, and they have Tirgum HaZohar. So you get the touch of the Zohar, but also you can't go wrong because the Revelio Divadias, the Mechaber, Talmud of the Ramak. He took just like the Nefesh HaChaim, he took the Musar Dikar Zohars, not the ones that are, heavy Kabbalah. He took the Musar Dikar Zohars, and you know what it means because you see it in context of where he brought it. The paragraph that directly precedes it, and he brings the Zohar to back it up. So you know where the Zohars come from. Let alone that most modern editions have Tirgum HaZohar. So another Zgula to take on, to be Nitzo Mechevlei Mashiach, right? And Ukme Shchinta Me'afra, because the Shechina is Mamash Bafra. This was the day of the Suda Katana. The Suda Katana is the Shechina. The Shechina is directly with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Just us, Knesset Yisrael, which is, we are the body that carries the Shechina. Just us and him. The Suda Katana, right? This will say where the Shechina is raised, right? To be Mamash with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? The Shechina is Mamash Adla Ofar. Right, and the Zohar is Mesugel, the Ukme Shchinta Me'afra. So in a responsible way, most of the Zohar is Musar, and if you want to make sure you don't go wrong, you pick up a Nefesh HaChaim with Tirgum HaZohar, pick up a Reishis Chochma with Tirgum HaZohar, engage in Limud HaZohar, and be mechaven, aside from the din of Talmud Torah, that it's Ukme Shchinta Me'afra, Ukme Shchinta Min Galusa. Right, it raises the Shechina up. It destroys the Mekatragim, right? And Mirz Hashem, we caught that, and all our learning there, and that now we're going to do tshuva for real, because it was shown to us that we didn't do it for real. Now we're going to do it for real. Then we call it the tshuva, right? And we're going to keep the Aser Simei. We're going to give another set, we're going to extend the Aser Simei tshuva. We take it along with learning Sefer Hazor in a responsible way, not in an irresponsible way, in the ways that I described. Right, especially Rebbe should turn all the dinim to rachamim, and we ukme shchinta me'afra ubein yivkun min galusa barachamim kenyi rotzon. Everyone get to work, get to work, get to work. We screwed up during Yamim Noraim, so that's why we have Yamim Noraim now. Get to work. Let's do tshuva be'emes. Hashem yirachem. We see gulas v'yeshuas. Amen. Kenyi rotzon.